What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another chapter reading Chamber of Secrets. Gilderoy Lockhart is the name of this chapter. And I got work early in the morning, so I have to walk to work. So, yeah, I have access to get up early in the morning. So, yeah, I will be reading this and going to sleep. So, without further ado, let's dig into this chapter. Chapter 6 Gilderoy Lockhart. The next day, however, Harry barely grinned once. Things started to go downhill from breakfast in the great hall. The four long house tables were laden with tureens of porridge, plates of kippers, mountains of toast, and dishes of eggs and bacon, beneath the enchanted ceiling. Today, a dull, cloudy gray. Harry and Ron sat down at the Gryffindor table next to Hermione, who had her copy of Voyages with Vampires propped up against a milk jug. There was a slight stiffness in the way she said, "Morning," which told Harry that she was still disapproving of the way they had arrived. Neville Longbottom, on the other hand, greeted them cheerfully. Neville was a round-faced and accent-friendly boy with the worst memory of anyone Harry had ever met. Let's do anything. I think get on sending a few things I forgot. Hey, welcome in to the one whoever just joined. Wasn't me yet. Join on the stream now. Oh, good. Alright. Harry had only just started his porch when, sure enough, there was a rushing sound overhead, and 100 or so owls streamed in, circling the hall and dropping letters and packages into the chattering crowd. A big, lumpy package bounced off Neville's head, and a second later, something large and gray fell into Hermione's jug, spraying them all with milk and feathers. "Errol," said Ron, pulling the big, bedraggled owl out by the feet. Errol slumped, unconscious, onto the table, his legs in the air, and a damp red envelope in the beak. "Oh, come in here, joined." "Oh, no," Ron gasped. "It's all right. He's still alive," said Hermione, prodding Errol gently with the tip of her finger. "It's not that. It's that." Ron was pointing at the red envelope. It looked quite ordinary to Harry, but Ron and Neville were both looking at it as though they expected it to explode. "What's the matter?" said Harry. She's She sent me a howler," said Ron faintly. "You better open it, Ron," said Neville in a timid whisper. "It'd be worse if you don't. My gran sent me one once, and I ignored it, and deal. It was horrible." Harry was from the petrified faces to the red envelope. "What's the howler?" But Ron's whole attention was fixed on the letter, which had begun to smoke at the corners. "Open it," I urged. "It'll all be over in a few minutes." Ron stretched out a shaking hand, eased the envelope from Errol's beak, and slid it open. Neville stuffed his fingers in his ears. A split second later, Harry knew why. He thought for a moment it had exploded. A roar of sound filled the huge hall, shaking dust from the ceiling. "Stealing the car! I wouldn't have been surprised if they'd expelled you. You wait till I get a hold of you. I don't suppose you stop to think what your father and I went there. When we saw it was gone, Mrs. Weasley's yells, 100 times louder than usual, made the plates and spoons rattle on the table, echoed deafeningly off the stone walls. People thought the hall was swiveling around to see who had received a howler. And Ron sank so low in his chair, only his crimson forehead could be seen. Letter from Dumbledore last night. I thought your father would die of shame. We didn't bring you up to behave like this. You and Harry could have been both died. Harry had been wondering when his name was going to crop up. He tried very hard because he couldn't hear the voice that was making his eardrums throb. Absolutely disgusted. Your father's facing inequality at work, and it's entirely your fault. If you put another toe out of line, we'll bring you straight back home. A ringing silence fell. The red envelope, which had dropped from Ron's hands, burst into flames and curled into ashes. Harry and Ron sat stunned, as though a tidal wave had just passed over them. A few people laughed, and gradually a babble of talk broke out again. Hermione closed Voyages with the Vampires and looked down at the top of Ron's head. Well, I don't know what you expected, Ron, but you... Don't tell me I deserved it, snapped Ron. Harry pushed his sporge away. His insides were burning with guilt. Mr. Weasley was facing an inquiry at work. After all Mr. and Mrs. Weasley had done for him and over the summer. But he had no time to dwell on this. Professor McGonagall was moving along the Gryffindor table, handing out course schedules. Harry took his and saw that they had double herbology with the Hufflepuffs first. Harry, Ron, and Hermione left the castle together, crossed the vegetable patch, and made for the greenhouses, where the magical plants are kept. At least the Howler had done one good thing. Hermione now seemed to think they had been punished enough, and was being perfectly friendly again. As they neared the greenhouses, they saw the rest of the class standing outside, waiting for Professor Sprout. Harry, Ron, and Hermione had only just joined them when she came striding into view across the lawn, accompanied by Gilderoy Lockhart. Professor Sprout's arms were full of bandages, and with another twinge of guilt, Harry spotted the Whomping Willow in the distance, several of its branches now in slings. Professor Sprout was a squat little witch who wore a patched hat over her flyaway hair. There was usually a large amount of earth on her clothes, and her fingernails would have made opportunity faint. Gilderoy Lockhart, however, was immaculate in sweeping robes of turquoise, his golden hair shining under a perfectly positioned turquoise hat with gold trimming. Oh, hello there, he called, beaming around at the assembled students. Just been showing Professor Sprout the right way to Dr. Whomping Willow, but I don't want you running away with the idea that I'm better at herbology than she is. I just happen to have met several of these exotic plants on my travels. Greenhouse tea today, chaps, said Professor Sprout, who was looking distinctly disgruntled. Not at all her usual cheerful self. There was a murmur of interest. They had only ever worked in Greenhouse 1 before. Greenhouse 3 housed far more interesting and dangerous plants. Professor Sprout took a large key from her belt and unlocked the door. Harry caught a whiff of damp earth and fertilizer mingling with the heavy perfume of some giant, umbrella-sized flowers dangling from the ceiling. He was about to follow Ron and Hermione inside when Lockhart's hand shot out. Harry, I've been wanting a word. You don't mind if he's a couple minutes late, do you, Professor Sprout? Judging by Professor Sprout's scowl, she did mind. But Lockhart said, that's a ticket, and closed the greenhouse door in her face. Harry, said Lockhart, his large white teeth gleaming in the sunlight. as he shook his head. Harry, Harry, Harry. Completely nonplussed, Harry said nothing. When I heard, well, of course, it was all my fault. Could have kicked myself. Harry had no idea what he was talking about. He was about to say so when Lockhart went on. Don't know when I've been more shocked. Flying a car to Hogwarts? Of course. I knew at once why he'd done it. Stood out a smile. Harry, Harry, Harry. It was remarkable how he could show every one of his brilliant teeth, even when he wasn't talking. Gave you a taste for publicity, didn't I? Said Lockhart. Gave you the bug. You got onto the front page of the paper with me. You couldn't wait to do it again. Oh, no, Professor, see. Harry, 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 said Lockhart, reaching out and grasping his shoulder. I understand. Natural to want a bit more once you've had that first taste. And I blame myself for giving that. You that? It was bound to go to your head. But see here, young man, you can't just start flying cars to try to get yourself noticed. Just calm down, all right? Plenty of that time for all that when you're older. Yes, yes, I know what you're thinking. Well, it's all right for him. He's an internationally famous wizard already. But when I was 12, I was just as much of a nobody as you are now. In fact, I'd say I was even more of a nobody. I mean, a few people have heard of you, haven't they? All that business with he who must not be named? He glanced at the lightning scar on Harry's forehead. I know. It's not quite as good as winning which weekly's most charming smile were 5 times in a row, as I have. But it's a start, Harry. It's a start. He gave Harry a hearty wink and strode off. Harry stood stunned for a few seconds, and then, remembering he was supposed to be in the greenhouse, he opened the door and slid inside. Professor Sprout was standing behind a trestle bench in the center of the greenhouse. About 20 pairs of different colored earmuffs were lying on the bench. When Harry had taken his place between Ron and Hermione, she said, We'll be reporting mandrakes today. Now who can tell me the properties of the mandrake? Then nobody's surprised. Hermione's hand was first in the air. Welcome in, whoever just joined. Mandrake, or Mandragoria, is a powerful. What up, JJ? Much appreciated, buddy. Welcome to the stream. I'll do my best to keep up the good work. Mandrake, or Mandragora, is a powerful restorative, said Hermione, sounding as usual as if she had swallowed the text book. It is used to return people who have been transfigured or cursed to their original state. Excellent. 10 points to Gryffindor, said Professor Sprout. The mandrake forms is an essential part of the antidotes. It is also, however, dangerous. Who can tell me why? Hermione's hand narrowly missed Harry's glasses as it shot up again. The cry of the mandrake is fatal to anyone who hears it, she said promptly. Precisely. Take another 10 points, said Professor Sprout. Now, the mandrakes we have here are still very young. She pointed to a row of deep trays as she spoke, and everyone shuffled forward for a better look. 100 or so tufty little plants, purplish green in color, were growing there in rows. It looked quite unremarkable to Harry, who didn't have the slightest idea what Hermione meant by the cry of the mandrake. Everyone take a pair of their muffs, said Professor Sprout. There they scrambled as everyone tried to seize a pair that wasn't pink and fluffy. Can't really blame y'all there. When I tell you to put them on, make sure your ears are completely covered, said Professor Sprout. When it is safe to remove them, I will give you the thumbs up. Right. Earmuffs on. Harry snapped the earmuffs over his ears. They shut out sound completely. Professor Sprout pulled a pink, fluffy pair over her own ears, rolled up the sleeves of her robes, grasped one of the tufty pants firmly, and pulled hard. Harry let out a gasp of surprise that no one could hear. Instead of roots, a small, muddy, and extremely ugly baby popped out of the earth. The leaves were growing right out of the head. He had pale green, mottled skin and was clearly bawling at the top of his lungs. Professor Sprout took a large plant pot from under the table and plunged the mandrake into it, burying him into a dark, damp compost until only the tufted leaves were visible. Professor Sprout dusted off her hands, gave them all thumbs up, and removed her own earmuffs. Shout out to the two up in chat. Appreciate it. Professor Sprout. Professor Sprout dusted off her hands, gave them all a thumbs up, and removed her own earmuffs. As our mandrake are only seedlings, the cries won't kill you yet, she said calmly as though she'd just done nothing more exciting than water begonia, whatever that is. However, they will knock you out for several hours, and as I'm sure none of you want to miss your first day back, make sure your earmuffs are securely in place while you work. I will attract your attention when it is time to pack up. Go to a tray. There's a large supply of pots here. Compost in the sacks over there. And be careful of the venomous tentacula. It's teething. She gave a sharp slap to a spiky, dark red plant as she spoke, making it draw at the long feelers that had been inching sneakily over her shoulder. Harry, Ron, and Hermione were joined at the table by a curly little-haired Puff-Puff, boy Harry knew by sight but had never spoken to. Justin Finchly, he said brightly, shaking Harry by the hand. Know who you are, of course. The famous Harry Potter. And you're Hermione Granger. Always topping everything. Hermione beamed as she had her hand shaken too. And Ron Weasley, wasn't that your flying car? Ron didn't smile. The howler was obviously still on his mind. That Lockhart's something, isn't he? Said Justin happily as they began filling their plant roots with dragging dung compost. Awfully brave chap. Have you read his books? I'd have died of fear if I'd been cornered in a telephone booth by a werewolf. Well, he said cool more than that. Just fantastic. My name was down for Eton, you know. I can't tell you how glad I am I came here instead. Of course, Mother was slightly disappointed. But since I made her read Lockhart's books, I think she's begun to see how useful it will be having a fully trained wizard in the family. After that, they didn't have much of a chance to talk. Their earmuffs were back on, and they needed to concentrate on the mantrakes. Professor Sprout had made it look extremely easy, but it wasn't. The mandrakes didn't like coming out of the earth, but didn't seem to want to go back in either. They squirmed, kicked, flailed their sharp little fists, and gnashed their teeth. Harry spent 10 whole minutes trying to squish a particularly fat one into a pot. Yeah, you shared me out. Appreciate that, Ninja. You're so worth. Damn. I feel like I gotta be at work early in the morning tomorrow. But I do appreciate you sharing me out, though. By the end of class, Harry, like everyone else, was sweaty, aching, and covered in earth. Everyone traipsed back to the castle for a quick wash, and then the Gryffindors hurried off to the Transfiguration. Professor McGonagall's class was always hard work, but today was especially difficult. Everything Harry had just learned last year seemed to have leaked out of his head during the summer. He was supposed to be turning a beetle into a button, but all he managed to do was give his beetle a lot of exercises to scuttle over the desk top, avoiding his wand. Ron was having far worse problems. He had patched up his wand with some borrowed sellotape, but it seemed to be damaged beyond repair. It kept crackling and sparkling at odd moments, and every time Ron tried to transfigure his beetle, it engulfed him in thick gray smoke that smelled of rotten eggs. Unable to see what he was doing, Ron accidentally squished his beetle with his elbow and had asked for a new one. Professor McGonagall wasn't pleased. Harry was relieved to hear the lunch bell. His brain felt like a warm sponge. Everyone filed out of the classroom except him and Ron, who was whacking his wand fiercely on the desk. Stupid useless thing! Right home for another one? Harry suggested with a wand. Let a volley of bangs like a firecracker. Oh yeah, I get another howler back, said Ron, stuffing the now hissing wand into his bag. It's your own wand. Thought your own wand got snapped. They went down to lunch, where Ron's bad mood was not improved by Hermione showing him the handful of perfect coat buttons she had produced in Transfiguration. What have we got this afternoon? Said Harry, hastily changing the subject. Defense against the dark arts, said Hermione at once. Why? Demanded Ron, seizing her schedule. Have you outlined all of Lockhart's lessons in Little Hearts? Hermione snatched the schedule back, blushing furiously. Said the two up in stream. They finished lunch and went outside in the overcast courtyard. Hermione sat down on a stone step and bared her nose and voyages with vampires again. Harry and Ron stood talking about Quidditch for several minutes before Harry became aware that he was being closely watched. Looking up, he saw a very small, mousy-haired boy he'd seen trying on the sorting hat last night, staring at Harry as though transfixed. He was clutching what looked like an ordinary muggle camera, and the moment Harry looked at him, he went bright red. "All right, Harry, I'm Colin Creevy," he said, breathlessly, taking a tentative step forward. "I'm in Gryffindor too. Do you think would it be all right if? Can I get a picture?" he said, raising the camera more hopefully. A picture? Harry repeated blankly. So I can prove I met you, said Colin Creevy eagerly, edging further forward. I know all about you. Everyone's told me about how you survived when you know who tried to kill you, and how he disappeared and everything about, and now how you've still got a lightning scar on your forehead. His eyes raked Harry's hairline. And a boy in my dormitory said, if I develop the film in the right potion, the pictures will move. Colin drew a great shuddering breath of excitement and said, It's amazing here, isn't it? I never knew all the odd stuff I could do was magic till I got this letter from Hogwarts. My dad's a milkman, You cannot believe it either. So I'm taking loads of good pictures to send home to him, and it'd be really good if I had one of you. You looked imploringly at Harry. Maybe your friend could take it if I could stand next to you? And then could you sign it? Signed photos? Giving out signed photos, Potter. Loud and scathing, Draco's voice echoed around the courtyard. He had stopped right behind Colin, flanked, as he almost always was at Hogwarts, by his large and thuggish cronies, Crabbe and Goyle. Everyone line up, Malfoy roared to the crowd. Harry Potter's giving out signed photos. No, I'm not, said Harry angrily, his fists clenching. Shut up, Malfoy. You're just jealous, piped up Colin, whose entire body was as thick as Crabbe's neck. Jealous, said Malfoy, who didn't need the shout anymore. Half the courtyard was listening in. Of what? I don't want a foul scar right across my head, thanks. I don't think a head cut makes you that special myself. Crabbe and Goyle were sniggering stupidly. Eat slugs, Malfoy, said Ron angrily. Crabbe stopped laughing and started rubbing his knuckles in a menacing way. Careful, Weasley, sneered Malfoy. You don't want to start any trouble. Your mummy will have to come and take you away from school. He put on a shrill, piercing voice. If you put another toe after the line. A lot of within 50 years nearby laughed loudly at this. Weasley would like a signed photo, Potter, smirked Malfoy. It'd be more work than this whole animal's whole house, smirked Malfoy. Ron whipped out his photo-tape wand, but Hermione shut voices with the vampire with a snap and whispered, Look out! What's all this? What's all this? Gilderoy Lockhart was striding toward them, his turquoise robe swirling behind them. Who's giving out signed photos? Harry started to speak, but was cut short by Lockhart. Was cut as Lockhart flung an arm around his shoulders and thundered jovially, Shouldn't have asked. We meet again, Harry. Pinned to Lockhart's side and burning with humiliation, Harry saw Malfoy slide, smirking back into the crowd. I'm on then, Mr. Creevy, said Lockhart, beaming at Colin. A double portrait? Can't do better than that, and we'll both sign it for you. Colin fumbled for the camera, took the picture as the bell rang behind him, singing the start of afternoon classes. Off you go. Move along there. Lockhart called to the crowd, and he set off back to the castle with Harry, who was wishing he knew a good vanishing spell. Still clasped to his side. Over to the wires, Harry, said Lockhart paternally as they entered the building through a side door. I covered up for you there, young Creevy. If he was photographing me too, your schoolmates wouldn't think you're setting yourself up so much. Deaf to Harry's stammers, Lockhart swept him down a corridor lined with staring students up a staircase. That man just stay handing out signed photos at this stage of your career isn't sensible. Looks a tad bright, big-headed, Harry. To be frank, there may come a time when, like me, you will need to keep a stack handy whenever you go. He gave a short little chuckle. Hello, Jose Egypt. How's it going? There may well come a time, like me, you'll need to keep a stack heavy. Oh, yeah, much appreciated for you stopping in, Josetta from Brazil. Shit, much appreciated. It's about 9:30 for me, but I am super duper tired myself, so I don't blame you there. He gave a little chortle. I don't think you're quite there yet. They had reached Lockhart's classroom. He let Harry go at last. Harry yanked his robe straight and headed for a seat at the very back of the class, where he busied himself with piling all 7 of Lockhart's books in front of him, so that he could avoid looking at the real thing. The rest of the class came cluttering in, and Ron and Hermione sat down on either side of Harry. "You could have fried an egg on your face," said Ron. "You'd better hope Phoebe don't and Jenny, or we'll be starting a Harry Potter fan club." "Shut up," snapped Harry. The last thing he needed was for Lockhart to hear the phrase Harry Potter fan club. When the whole class was seated, Lockhart cleared his throat loudly and silence fell. He reached forward, picked up Neville's long bottoms copy of Travels with Trolls, and held it up to show his own winking portrait on the front. "Me," he said, pointing at it and winking as well. "Gilderoy Lockhart, Order of Merlin, 3rd class, honorary member of Dark Force Defense League, and 5-time winner of Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award. But I don't want to talk about that. I didn't get rid of the abandoned Banshee by smiling at her." He waited for them to laugh. A few people smiled weakly. "I see you've all bought a complete set of my books. Well done. I thought we'd all start today with a little quiz. Nothing to worry about. Just to check to see how well you've read them, how much you've taken in." When he had handed out the test papers, he returned to the front of the class and said, "You have 30 minutes. Start now." Harry looked down at his paper and read, 1. What is Gilderoy Lockhart's favorite color? 2. What is Gilderoy Lockhart's secret ambition? 3. What, in your opinion, is Gilderoy Lockhart's greatest achievement to date? On and on it went, over 3 sides of paper, right down to 54. When is Gilderoy Lockhart's birthday, and what would his ideal gift be? Half an hour later, Lockhart collected the papers and rifled through them in front of the class. "Tut, tut, hardly any of you remembered that my favorite color is lilac. I say so in the year of the Yeti. And a few of you need to reread Wanderings of Werewolves more carefully. I clearly state in Chapter 12 that my ideal birthday gift would be harmony between all magic and non-magic peoples. Though I want to say no to a large bottle of Ogen's Old Fire Whiskey." He gave them another roguish wink. Ron was now staring at Lockhart with an expression of disbelief on his face. Seamus Finnegan and Dean Thomas, who were sitting in front, were shaking with silent laughter. Hermione, on the other hand, was listening to Lockhart with rapid attention and gave a start when he mentioned her name. "What? Miss Hermione Granger knew my secret ambition is to rid the world of evil and market my own range of hair care potions. Good girl. In fact," he flipped her paper over, "full marks. Where is Miss Hermione Granger?" Hermione raised a trembling hand. Shout out to the 2 up in chat. "Excellent," beamed Lockhart. "Quite excellent. Take 10 points for Gryffindor. And so, to business." He bent down behind his desk and lifted a large covered cage onto it. "Now be warned." Was that about a page and a half, 2.5 pages yet? "It is my job to arm you against the foulest creatures known to wizard kind. You may find yourselves facing your worst fears on this room. Not only that no harm can befall you whilst I am here, all I ask is that you remain calm." In spite of himself, Harry leaned around his pile of books for a better look at the cage. Lockhart placed a hand over the cover. Dean and Seamus had stopped laughing now. Neville was cowering in the front row seat. "I must ask you not to scream," said Lockhart in a low voice. "It might Provoke them! As the whole class held its breath, Lockhart whipped off to cover. Yes, he said dramatically. Freshly caught Cornish pixies. Seamus Finnegan couldn't control himself. He let out a snort of laughter that even Lockhart couldn't mistake for a scream of laughter. Yes, he smiled at Seamus. Well, they're not very dangerous, are they? Seamus choked. Don't be so sure, said Lockhart, waggling a finger annoyingly at Seamus. Devilish tricky little bugs as they can be. The pixies were electric blue and about 8 inches high, with pointed faces and voices so shrill it was like listening to a lot of budgies arguing. The moment the cover had been removed, they had started jabbering and rocketing around, rattling in the bars and making bizarre faces at the people nearest them. Right then, Lockhart said loudly. Let's see what you make of them. And he opened the cage. It was pandemonium. The pixies shot in every direction like rockets. Two of them seized Neville by the ears and lifted him onto the air. Several shot him through the window, showering the back row with broken glass. The rest proceeded to wreck the classroom more effectively than a rampaging rhino. They grabbed ink bottles and sprayed the class with them, shredded books and papers, tore pictures from the wall, upended with the wastebasket, grabbed bags and books and threw them out from the smashed windows. Within minutes, half the classroom was sheltered under desks, and Neville was swinging from the iron chandelier in the ceiling. Come on now, round them up, round them up. They're only pixies, Lockhart shouted. He rolled up his sleeves, burnished his wands, and bellowed, Pesky, pesky, pestinome! Yeah, absolutely no effect. One of the pixies seized his wand and threw it out the window, too. Oh, sorry, that's just funny, though. The bell rang and there was a mad rush. Lockhart gulped and dived under his own desk, narrowly avoiding being squished by Neville. He fell a second later as the chandelier gave way. The bell rang and there was a mad rush to the exit. In the relative calm that followed, Lockhart straightened up, caught sight of Harry, Ron, and Hermione, who were almost at the door. Said, "Well, if I could just ask these three to snip them back into the cage." He swept past him and shut the door quickly behind him. Can you believe him? Roared Ron as one of the remaining pixies bent painfully on the ear. He just wants to give us hands-on experience, said Hermione, mobilizing two pixies at once with a clever freezing charm and stuffing them back into their cage. Hands-on, said Harry, who was trying to grab a pixie, dancing out of reach of its tongue out. Hermione didn't have a clue what he was doing. Rubbish. He read his books. Look at all the amazing things he's done. He says he's done, Ron muttered. And that chat is the end of that chapter. And Davey was getting some sleep, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.